Ég heiti Snæbjörn Ingi Ingólfsson og viðskiptastjóri hér í Ólíkó og ætla að halda utan vefvarpið í dag sem fjallar áskoranir og tækifæri á breyttum markaði. Meðan á þessu vefvarpi stendur þá vil ég hvetja ykkur að senda inn spurningar til Alex í gegnum chatið inn á YouTube. Þetta svolítið öðruvísi en venjulega, þetta ekki yfirfullt af einhverjum PowerPoint-kynningum, þetta verður meira svona, við ætlum að reyna að hafa þetta interaktíft. Og þá þurfum við að fá ykkur til að taka þátt. Við erum líklega að fara að takast á við verkefnin okkar á allt annan hátt en við hugsanlega gerðum fyrir cirka 2 til 3 mánuðum síðan. Við erum á fleygiferðinni í framtíðina og þetta ekki tími til að stoppa. Það þó enga síður búið að ryðja mörgum hindrunum og vegi á síðustu misserum. Ég til dæmis búin að tala fjárvinnu og fjarfundi í 10 ár en það eitthvað sem fólk var almennt ekkert að tileinka sér. En í dag allir að taka Teams og Zoom-fundi eins og það hafa aldrei gert neitt annað. Og það fleira að breytast og búið að taka risastökk inn í framtíðina, til dæmis verslun, heilbrigðisþjónusta, bankaþjónusta og skólakerfi. Eitt af stóru tækifærunum meðal annars útvistun í rekstri tölvukerfa, bæði til að auka sveigjanleika og lækka kostnað. Í dag hafa flestöll fyrirtæki og stofnanir orðið fyrir gríðarlegum áföllum og í hreinskilni sagt, það voru brekkan ansi brött hjá mörgum þeirra á næstunni. Hvernig ætlum við að takast á við þessi verkefni á næstu vikum og hjálpa viðskiptavinum okkar að takast á við þessar breytingar? I now switch over to English. We have here with us today Alex Moyle, specialist from England, to discuss this topic and get some ideas how to face it. Alex is experienced when it comes to helping companies to activate the staff to promote business development with participation of staff from all departments of the company. He has also written the book Business Development Culture, which deals with the subject of the day. Hi Alex, thank you for being with us here today. And can you tell me something more about yourself and about the webinar we are having here today?
So, hi, thank you very much, Snæbjörn. It's great to be here with Origo and your clients. The aim of today is to help all leaders manage some of the challenges that we've got in these unprecedented times. Every nation, every business has been affected in some way. And I think one of the challenges for many businesses is that it's causing them to reflect on their own strategies. It's causing them to reflect on their own business model, but also how do they make the most of the staff that they've got on site when many of them are working from home or may be furloughed as well. So today is really about looking at ideas that business leaders can use to engage their teams for them to be fit for the fight that's ahead over the next couple of years.
Tell me something more, what you have been doing for the last 5 or 10 years?
So I've been in sales and business development since I was about 10. I used to buy candy for school trips and sell it on the bus. I used to go door to door selling cars. I spent a large part of my career in the recruitment industry, which was really helping and advising companies on how they attract and retain their staff better. And more recently, I've sort of run a small consultancy where I help leaders change their approach to business development. And what I mean by that is business development in today's world is not just about sales. It's about how do you engage everyone in the sales process. Let's say, for example, take a company like Origo. You might have a sales team, but you've also got pre-sales. You have technical sales. You have account managers. You have the technicians that actually deliver the services that you sell. Every one of those individuals is involved in some way part of the sales process. And so the reason I use business development, it's not about closing a deal anymore. It's about how do we build relationships with our customers and the whole organization be involved in that process of winning and retaining that client.
Okay, so you will mean that this might be the biggest challenges that companies will face in the next 6 till 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be extremely challenging times. And because I think businesses are affected in every way, and there's just so much uncertainty. If it was a traditional recession, which was caused by a crash in the banking industry, for instance, everyone sort of knows the playbook for this, but no one really knows what's going to happen over the next 12 months. Yeah. And one of the techniques that I use with my clients to help leaders articulate some of those challenges is a technique called Pestle. And I'm an educator at heart, and so my goal is always to educate leaders so they can have better conversations with their own team. What we'll keep coming back to during the webinar is that it's about how leaders engage their teams and talk to their teams through these problems. And so Pestle is a very simple sort of technique that you can use to articulate some of the challenges that the markets are having. So when I got this question, it was a great opportunity to showcase this, because I think it's something that everyone listening could use within their team as well. So from a political perspective, I think underlying it, aside from COVID, I think we've got real challenges with cooperation between nations. We've got Brexit, US, China, Hong Kong. We've got the elections in the US. And I think the backdrop of that is creating instability in the markets where everyone's using COVID as part of a bigger game. And I think that will contribute to some uncertainty in some markets in the months and years ahead. Hopefully the Icelandic political situation is relatively stable, but we're all impacted by global things. Probably more closer to home, you've got economic challenges. So one of the things that I'm observing within my client base, and I work with companies large and small, is company liquidity. What's unusual about the COVID situation is that whilst many governments have furlough schemes, companies are still bleeding cash. So if their industry has stopped, so let's say, for example, hospitality, retail, tourism, they're still spending money on contractual commitments every week and month. And so the concern is do they have the money to invest in growing their business as time goes? You've also got company confidence. I don't know, Snipjörn, what confidence issues you're seeing in Iceland.
No, I'm not sure right now, even myself. So
yeah, and so we don't sort of know. Obviously, we've got government fiscal and monetary policy, which is still unknown. At the moment, the governments are pouring loads of money into furlough schemes, but what does that look like long term to try and stimulate growth? And from an economic perspective, companies are thinking about investments and transformations. Some businesses are accelerating transformations, others are putting them on hold. And so for every person that's watching, you will have clients in each one of those camps. And probably the number one priority for most businesses at the moment is to actually engage with their customers to find out what their plan is. We've then got social issues over the next 12 months. There will be mass unemployment. I think 32 million unemployed. Is it in the US now? That's a lot of people. In the UK, we've had another million unemployed just in the last 8 weeks alone. We've got virtual workforces, the rise of the gig economy, the stress and mental health issues that come with the COVID situation, and the financial confidence that comes with it. It's sort of, so whilst you're saying what are the challenges, these are the challenges, and the problem I've got as someone that sort of talks about these things is no one really quite knows what the answers will be. Probably something we do know that's happening is that technological transformation will be absolutely key over the next 12 to 18 months. I've got a friend who's a partner in a law firm, and he was talking about the retail industry where he specializes. And he says that what was going to happen in the retail industry in the next 5 years is having to happen in 3 months in terms of digitization. So you've got companies that are looking to digitize deliveries. You think about the training industry. It's gone online within the last 3 months. You know, face-to-face training is probably dead for the next 18 months. There'll be other industry sectors that are transformed. How do we use technology to drive virtual working? And I think the challenge with technology and automation for every business is how do we maintain that humanity? Any business that goes from a physical business to a digital business there'll be people internally that go, I remember the time when we used to actually speak to human beings and meet them. And it's how do we maintain that humanity? We've got some environmental issues. There's lots of opportunity around the environment. I think the COVID situation is giving governments an opportunity to think, how do they drive the green agenda within their cities from a transportation perspective. And so I anticipate lots of spending within governments on sort of green schemes, electric schemes, and those processes will be accelerated, and it's sort of trying to harness some of the benefits of reduced car usage. I'm not sure what it's like in Reykjavik, but I imagine a lot more people are riding bikes than they used to. So, and how do we survive in a contactless world? And lastly, we've got some legal issues as well. So I mean, where do we start with the challenges? And that's the problem. So,
do you think there is an opportunity for most companies in those difficult circumstances that we are experiencing now?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that makes business people so fantastic is that we are extremely inventive of finding a way to make money. So even if you just think about the contactless world, okay, so how might that impact anyone that's related to the toilet industry? You know, like hand dryers, paper towels, hand sanitizer. Like in the UK, we've had gin manufacturers turning into hand sanitizer manufacturers. So I think one of the challenges for businesses is thinking about, well, how will the world operate, and what is it about what we do that we can turn our hand to that can help us be successful?
What factors will make those companies that will survive the recession and grow in the next years?
So I think the most important thing for organizations, I think I avoided the slide earlier, but a business development culture at its heart is about harnessing the employee goals, the company goals, and the customer goals. And I think one of the things that will really define successful companies in the next sort of 18 to 24 months are ones that really think about their company's purpose and ask whether it inspires their staff. And because if you think about it, like what the lockdowns caused is a lot of people to sit at home and reflect. Those people that have very busy jobs are now trying to do busy jobs whilst trying to homeschool their children. And it's causing people to reflect, is this worth it? And if it's not worth it, they're going to go and work for someone else. And so inspiring your staff to believe in the mission of your organization. I'm not sure what your view is on Michael Jackson, but he asked sort of what do you make the world a better place? You know, and I think it's organizations thinking about what do they do and how does it serve the wider community that they sell to. The analogy I often use is, are you a parasite on your industry or are you a pilot fish? So if you imagine sharks, they have these pilot fish that sit underneath them that they allowed to live because they're part of the ecosystem. Part of you running this webinar, it isn't related to selling technology, but it's part of you trying to help the wider ecosystem of the market that you serve. What benefit do you show as an organization? One of the best books I've read in the last few years was by a chap called Phil Knight, who was the founder of Nike. And he was a rubbish salesperson, right? I think he tried to sell encyclopedias, he tried to sell investments. But he basically said is that like he was so passionate about the physical and mental benefits of running that he just believed that it was something everyone should do. And as we try and engage our teams to change what they do, to work in challenging situations, they've got to believe in what you're trying to do for your customers and what you're doing for your people in order to succeed. And one of the areas that this is causing companies to reflect on is what language are you using internally, especially some of your traditional sales language, which is, are we going to close that deal? Like, right, ring them up, get them to do this. How are we going to get more from them? You know, the language we often use about our customers internally tells our staff what we think of those customers. Mm-hmm. And so when you care about profits over how your how your customers feel and how your employees feel, that people don't necessarily buy into that. Some do, but this is causing a period of reflection for people. And what we need to do is get people to want to make a difference and push through the difficult times. And so part of that is about thinking about, as an organization, when you think about sales and you look at your mission in your organization, how are you focusing on helping people and solving problems rather than just hunting down new business? Mm-hmm. And that hunting methodology and mindset, it's not just a strapline shift. It's about the behaviors that everyone across the organization shows in order to make sure that they show that they engage with helping their customers.
How should companies change their approach to the markets?
I think there's a number of parts to it. And so if I share my screen again, I think we've talked about helping and hunting. I think probably the most important thing to do is to ask yourself, like, do you genuinely care about your customer needs? The reason we've got over 100 people on the webinar today is that everyone's a bit in flux, right? They're not quite sure what they need to do. And when I work with my clients over the last 3 months, the conversations have not been about this is what you should do. It's about, are you engaging with your customers to find out what their situation is? How are they being affected? What are their plans? What do they think the difference has been? And the successful sales teams that I see at the moment aren't trying to sell product. What they're doing is engaging with their customers to find out how their world has changed. And only once you understand how their world has changed can you start to think about how your solution helps them solve the problem. And that's really what we're focused on.
Okay, it's something like we need to maybe to go out to meet our customers and ask, what is your pain? How do you feel? How can I help you? Not going with this, I have this great solution I need to introduce to you.
Yeah, this is not the time for selling product. No. This is not the time for ringing companies going, this is what I've got, even if you know they've got a problem. So for instance, hey, I know you've got a problem with the contactless toilets. Here's my loo paper. Here's my loo paper. Like it's what people want is empathy. And I think one of the benefits of the lockdown is actually, I think people have really realized, actually, I quite like a bit of human contact, and getting on Zoom calls and sort of Microsoft Teams calls with customers. I'm finding people are more available for those types of chats because no one knows, right? Yeah. And one of the ways I think for people to really engage with their customers is to begin to become a center point of knowledge. All you want to be, what our goal in business development is for people to call us at the moment of need. Gartner's research shows that most business-to-business buyers are 56% of the way through the sales process by the time they engage a provider. And that means by the time they contact you, they sort of know what they want to buy and they're almost ready to buy. But do you get that call? And in tight markets, people are going to contact the people that they actually like. And the people that they like are going to be the people that they actually feel care about them and their needs. So
we probably need to read between the lines.
Yeah, absolutely. It's no different. We've all been to see a doctor. And Malcolm Gladwell talked about in his book, Pink, he tried to read, no, it was Outliers, and he was talking about how the relationship between surgeons that get sued and the relationship and the surgeons that don't get sued. And it had nothing to do with the success rate of the surgery. It came down to the length of the initial consultation. And surgeons that didn't get sued, on average, their initial consultation was 3 minutes longer. And when they interviewed people that didn't sue where the surgery went wrong and they didn't sue, they went, oh no, I don't want to sue them. I really like them. People don't sue people they like. People give business to people that they like. And in tough markets, what I learned in 8, 9, 10, 12 is the fact that people choose who they give their business to and they choose who they contact first. And that's what everybody in every organization is playing for.
Okay. Now, I would like to show my customers that I understand their problems and how they can prepare for the future, but I'm afraid that they are not willing to invest the resources at the moment. Do you have any suggestions? How to address it?
Yeah, I mean, and I think that comes back down to the customer needs. I think if you listen to that question there, it says, I want to help my customers with their problems, but they're not interested in my solution. What that tells me is that you see the problem, you think you've got an answer, and you're trying to talk to them about it. Don't try and talk about your product. Try and think about the value that you can add. I imagine this is one of many free webinars that are going on in Iceland at the moment, right?
Yep.
And what differentiates this webinar is that A, we're taking questions, but B, we're thinking about engaging staff to grow rather than just how you can drive operational efficiency through IT.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do that too, right?
Probably.
And yeah. So, but the point is you're thinking about wider needs beyond the product that you serve. And what I would encourage that individual to do is think about the problem that they've got, think about the product that you've got, but think about the insight you can share that helps them solve the problem themselves first. Because if you try and help them solve it for free, when they do realize they have to spend money, then they'll come to you. I get that all the time. People say, Alex, could you come and help my team with sales training? Or could you come and help my non-sales people be better business developers? And I go, could I give you some tips for you to do it yourself first? And I generally give them an exercise to do. And they go away and they do it. And they go, that was great, but it still hasn't worked. And then I go, I can help you now. But they don't put me in a tender process with 6 other people. They call me and only me because I've tried to help them first.
Okay. Are you worried that company leaders will forget how important participation and empowerment of all employment will be in a change process?
Yes. I think the tendency of leadership teams in these situations is that they sort of switch into a command and control culture. And I think one of the things I talk about in my book is that we've all been in meetings where your directors will say, this is the strategy, this is what we need to do. And you've been sitting there going, you've got no idea, this won't work. And you might say, I don't think my customers will like this. And they go, of course they'll like it. This is the way. And I think we often, in businesses, we forget how smart the people we are. And I think one of the best examples of switch in mindset is in Microsoft in current times. So obviously with Balmer, you had what was called a know-all mindset. I listened to a great podcast recently on this. And a traditional sort of American corporate culture, that know-all mindset is you cannot ever say, I don't know the answer to something. And if you don't know the answer, you get absolutely lambasted. I spent 16 years in a US corporate, and once a quarter, you'd have to stand up in front of all your peers and say, this is my business. And you'd get asked questions by the next 2 lines of leadership. If you didn't know the answer to a problem within your team, you were almost fired, like you were humiliated. And lots of those cultures still exist. If you look at how Microsoft has evolved in its new leadership with Satya, it's all about a growth mindset. And a growth mindset is a willingness to say, I don't know. So I think one of the things that will show true leadership in the coming months ahead is to be able to say, look, you know what? I don't know what the answer is to this. I don't know what the solution is. And engaging our teams in the answers. And if we try something and it doesn't work out, put your hand up and say, it didn't work out. In the UK, there used to be this show called How Do You Solve a Problem Like Maria? In my book, I talk about an exercise, which is how do you solve a problem like? And because in many organizations, there's this thing called the smart dumb paradox. We hire people that are super smart. And when it comes to executing change or actually listening to their ideas, we treat them like they're stupid. And what we need to do is to engage the wisdom of the organization that we've got. Pose the problem and then allow contributions for the solution. How did Google get to where it was, where it allowed all its developers 20% of their time to go and create cool stuff? That's how Gmail was created. That's how AdSense was created. And it's because they believed in the wisdom of the people that work for them. One of the things that we've been through already, and this is why I did it, we went through a Pestle analysis. Everyone probably remembers that. Mm-hmm. But the question I would ask everyone here is, have you asked your team what you think the consequences will be over the next 12 to 18 months? An exercise that you can do is run through a Pestle analysis. And the slides will be available after the webinar where you can show these to your team and run through a little workshop. But what I'd encourage you to do is print off or get everyone to look at the 6 different aspects of Pestle and then think about, right, well, this issue here, what's the opportunity? What's the threat? What are we really good at? What are our weaknesses? This is the time for organizations and leaders to be open to working out what they should do more of and less of, what they should stop doing and start doing. And because the philosophy, Snipebjørn, I always talk about is that whoever's got a fingerprint on the plan generally has buy-in to that plan. And so when a plan comes from above and no one's had any involvement, no one's going to be bought in, even when you're sitting in the office, let alone when they're working from their bedroom. No, you know, sure. And one of the ways to engage people is to give them ownership of the problem at multiple levels of the organization. So that would be my view on that. So hopefully some of the people watching will run a Pestle meeting with their team and start talking about some of these challenges and opportunities.
Okay. How do I make my staff do the things that need to be done so we achieve the company goals?
Oh, I love that, Snipebjørn. How do we make people do things? Yeah. I'm sure you've had that thought. I've had that thought. You know what? I've definitely had that thought with my kids at home for the last 12 weeks. But I think one of the traps we fall into as leaders is we think about how do we make people do things rather than how we make people want to do things. And I've spoken about how lockdown has caused people to reflect on their career. I've got someone in my team and I found out she's now running a little artistry business on the side. And I'm like, what? She's like, oh, I'm really good at art. People say I'm good at art. They've always said I should sell the art. Now I'm starting to sell my art. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And so I'm like, do you still want to work for me? She's like, yeah. But I think we need to be prepared for the fact that people are reflecting on what they're doing. And Simon Sinek talks about sort of why. And the challenge I would give everybody that is watching this is, do you know why each individual person is at work? Do you know why they're there and what they do it for? Mm-hmm. And an evolution, I talk about motivation, and I sort of evolved the self-determination theory of motivation. And I sort of think there's 4 levels of motivation that we can engage our teams with. And often we're really good at the top levels, but we're not very good at the lower levels. So the first level of motivation is the ability to acquire and compete. So some of your team short term will be motivated by beating the virus. They'll be motivated by beating your competition or buying. The problem is that if you have a bad period over maybe sort of 4, 6, 8 weeks, like beating the person sitting next to you or beating your competition isn't quite as important. So we need to be able to know the next layer of motivators for our team. Do we know who motivates them within their family? Is it their mum? Is it their dad? Is it their brother? Is it their friends? We all sit, like you might sit next to someone and they talk about their mum the whole time. That means they're really motivated by what their mum perceives of them. So do you link how their mum's going to perceive them to what you're asking them to do every day? Most people will not do anything unless they feel they're going to get a personal gain. And so what we've got to do is really engage individuals to find out, are they motivated by showing off to the regional director or to the CEO? You, as in watching this, may not really care what your boss thinks about you, but you may be really keen to know that your peers think you're the coolest dude, right? So the biggest, the strongest, or whatever. And it's understanding what someone thinks about them. Who is it that thinks about them that actually they really care about? For me, I don't really give one whether my mum likes me or not. That's just where I am. But I'm quite bothered about how my peers think about me. And therefore, talking about what my mum will think will make me shrug. Talk about what my best friend will say about me. I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going to make sure I show them I'm right. And it's about individual, unique conversations and learning these motivators. Next, we've got to think about autonomy and mastery as humans. And this sort of comes from the evolution of Dan Pink's book, Drive. You know, you've got autonomy and mastery. How are we giving people independence to problem solve? And how are we giving them opportunities to improve? Bad companies will move into a command and control structure. They will reduce autonomy because they've got the way, rather than actually inspiring people to improve what they do. And last but not least, it's about the big why. Why do people actually turn up every day? I've got a pathological fear of being old and poor. If you want to talk to me about why I need to do certain things, talk to me about being old and poor, and I'll do lots of things. But it's understanding what that driver is at an individual level. And that's where I think in good times and busy times, leaders don't spend the time to find that out, but now they need to, if they're to get someone to work hard whilst they're sitting in their bedroom and homeschooling 3 kids. Hopefully that helps.
So now we are facing these difficult times, and I have often said that every employee is a salesperson, and even our technicians who are out in the field are our best salesperson because they have the trust from our customers, and the customers believe what they say. Is it more important now for companies to train every employee to be a salesperson? Because often this technician guy say, I'm not a sales guy. I don't know prices, but indeed he is our, what can I say, most worthy salesperson in the company.
Absolutely. And I think part of this, Snipien says, comes back to how we perceive sales. So we perceive sales and selling as a bit of a dirty activity. Oh, I don't want to be seen as in sales. That's what pushy people do. The phrase I often talk about is not being in sales, but being an assistant buyer. And I think we need to train everyone to be in sales, but good sales, right? And good sales is about engaging with customers' needs. It's about helping your customers solve problems. I always say that teachers are some of the most high-pressure salespeople you'll ever meet. There may be some people watching this who have family that are teachers. And people say, my wife's a teacher, by the way, as well. So this is what I always roll on the table when we've got teachers around for dinner. And they go, well, we're not in sales. And I go, you are. Because if you think about it, like no one's got any choice to be there. They don't see any immediate benefit in listening or buying what you do. And you test whether they've listened. And they've got to be there 8 months a year. And they can't leave. That's a high pressure sales job. But why is it not sales? Well, they inspire. They believe in the long-term benefit of their product. And so I believe everyone should be in sales. But it's not about selling product. It's about helping customers with needs. When my wife goes shopping, I'm actually relatively pragmatic because it's her versus the salesperson. When she goes shopping with her friends, I get a bit nervous because she's actually going with a load of salespeople. Right? So, because those salespeople are like, oh, you've got that wedding coming up. This dress would be amazing. Oh, you said your boots were wearing out. These boots would be amazing. And she doesn't think they're being high pressured. What she thinks is they care about their needs. And what we need to do for everybody in the organization is educate them and set the mindset that we help clients solve problems. And they need to be crystal clear on what client problems are, what questions we ask to engage clients in those problems, so they can then bring those back to someone in the organization that might start a business development conversation. And this is where the alignment comes, is how do we motivate people to want to ask those questions? Well, if they believe in what you do as an organization and what your goals are, they believe you treat everyone in the organization fairly, and they believe that you are focused on caring for the customer, most people will be involved in the business development process. A lot of it is about confidence, not just capability. And so we need to make sure we've got that message aligned for everyone to go, right, look, you've got to talk to your customer about this, because otherwise they're going to have this problem happen. That there is, and in some ways, now's never been an easier time to get people engaged in sales and business development, because your clients have need, right? Yeah. There is a lot of need out there. Every one of the customers that you sell to is in some sort of shock, even if they're doing really well through COVID because they make PPE or deliver care services, they've got challenges operationally. And if we are focused on helping people solve problems, like I said, we don't look at doctors as salespeople. Why? Well, we believe they've got our interests at heart. But they sell us, right? Because they give us a prescription and get us to take drugs that could kill us. But yet we take it. And that's what's really important. And so an exercise that I encourage clients to do is think about mapping your sales process and encouraging and letting people know where they can be involved in the sales process. It could be Sniper, you're only involved in the end of the process, but your sort of engineers that are on client site could be involved at the beginning of the process by actually spotting client need. So everyone has a role to play in the process, because sales is a process, and actually delivering your service is as much of the sales process as actually winning the business in the first place. And so your finance team, your credit control team, your customer service team are all equally part of that process. And then when it comes down to how you get people to want to do it, you've got to support them through the journey. A large part of why people hold back from business development activities, it's a confidence thing. And so you need to teach people not only the mindset, but techniques in order to help them succeed. I've got a picture here of some Jedi masters and coaches through the ages, but we can't force people to do something they don't want to do. We've got to inspire them to be part of sales. And people may not want to be it, but we need to highlight how they are part of it already. They just choose whether they want to be good at it or not. Yeah.
Like you say, a good salesperson is dealing with, what can you say, solutions to a problem, not the price isn't the main thing.
Exactly. It's all about the value. It's all about the pain you solve. If you think about, and if you think about how businesses have built, the most disruptive businesses have built themselves, that's how the biggest new businesses have built themselves. Like I imagine, I don't know what ordering a cab is like, a taxi is like in Iceland at 12 o'clock on a Friday night 10 years ago, but normally it'd be like, yeah, we'll be there, and you never knew whether they were going to come. Then you needed cash, and you weren't sure whether you were going to be safe, and you can never get through, and someone somewhere had a whiteboard and they were like, right, what don't people like about using cabs? Right, I need cash. I don't know whether they're going to turn up. I don't know whether I'm going to be safe. What else? I don't really, I've got to ring 5 or 6 numbers to know whether I'm doing it. Wouldn't it be great if we could do it on an app?
Yeah.
and what are we going to call the business, everybody? I don't know, but it needs to be amazing. It needs to be an Uber idea. That's it.
Yeah.
and in return for that, when it rains, we're going to charge people double, and I reckon they'll still buy.
Yeah.
and we do that. We accept surcharging where we never would have accepted it 10 years ago, but we accept it as a trade for the convenience that we get. And that's what we've got to be doing as a business is spotting the client problems and then wrapping our solution around how it gives a client what they want.
Yeah. Now we have been talking a lot about how we can address the market with our solutions and to address the needs. But what about the other end? The what can you say? The buying behavior. Will that change in the upcoming months or years?
I think the buying behavior is a process that may just be accelerated. So I think in tough markets, everyone becomes risk adverse of making the decision. So what I've observed over the last 10 years is there's a lot more buying through committee. It's not the fact that I play golf with Odin, and he likes me, so he's going to give me a call with a business. Everyone wants to be seen to be transparent. I think more and more of the sales process is going to be conducted online. So companies' ability to sample what you do, to see what you do in advance. And that's where I think the sales process is being digitized in itself. So if you think about thought leadership, webinars, all of these are helping people through that buying decision and that buying journey. And so when I look at research and you look at SaaS products and you look at, well, actually companies that have a free trial probably get higher conversion rates than one which is call me if you want to talk more.
Yeah.
You know, think about HubSpot. You can go in, use some of it for free and see what it is, or you commit to buying it. And I think customers' buying behavior will want to see more of what you do before they commit to buying.
Yeah, so the buying behavior is developing also.
Yeah. It's a bit like when you sell software, like that. What they want to be able to do is go, right, you'll say, can I see it in action first? Can I try it? Can I play with it first? Can I get other people to play with it? Where it used to be sort of like go in, show a screen demo and go, great. Do you want it?
Yeah. Do you offer some proof of concept or something like that?
Exactly. And that, I think it's that risk aversion. But the upside for businesses is once you start getting proof of concepts, it's sort of a much slower sales process, but actually the likelihood of that converting is much greater.
Yeah. But will we see companies in some price wars? Will we be competing on prices, or will there be more, room for value?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think there will be a price war, and I think if I learned from what I saw in the last recession was that businesses that get caught up in price wars are still trying to deliver the same product and the same service for a lower price. What you're going to see is companies start to unbundle some of the services that were traditionally available so they can sell it cheaper. So when someone says, oh, I'm paying €1,000 for this, you've got to be careful that what you're charging €1,000 for is what the other person is charging €1,000 for. So, for instance, in the recruitment industry, some people still meet their candidates, others don't. That's two different delivery models. And I think it's being clear about the way you deliver your service and which parts of your service your clients value. And so it could be that your clients want to pay less, but actually they don't want some bits of your service, or more importantly, they're not willing to pay for it. So there will undoubtedly be a price war, but you've got to be able to deliver, right? And I think people did learn from the last recession where they did go just on price and suffered. But who can fathom what procurement decision-making processes will be?
Yeah. How important do you think automation and new technology methods will be for the competitiveness of companies in the future?
Absolutely. I mean, I think automation and technology is firstly about your ability to deliver your service virtually. So how many millions of businesses woke up about 3 months ago and went, everyone's working from home, I'm not sure we can run our business.
Yeah.
You know, so technology is about like a lot of people so for instance, those that are early adopters in cloud technology, SaaS solutions were just like, take the laptop. Those that were on premise still, you know, and still working off old servers were like, oh my goodness, what does the VPN work? Like
Will the VPN handle all the traffic?
Yeah, exactly. It's all about bandwidth. Like it's just I think there's going to be a lot of projects and transformation around just making sure the business can run anywhere in the world at any time. Yeah. I think the next level of change that will bring is rather than automation, what I think it will bring is a more flexible workforce. So I think companies will become more comfortable with people working in other parts of the world that may work for them full time. I've got a couple of people that help me out 2 days a week in the Philippines. And they're great. They do a really good job. So I think there's that. And automation for me is about how do you lower the cost of delivery to enable yourself to continue to become competitive. And that's that automation piece is the train's already moving. This is just going to speed it up. If you're a retail organization, it's about how do you deliver digitally? How do you do clicks rather than bricks? As I said at the start, what was going to happen to the retail industry in the next 5 years has just happened in 3 months. So I imagine if I've got friends that sell to the retail industry, and they're actually doing really well as long as they sell something related to supply chain, logistics, and websites and digital marketing.
Yeah. But if you're mentioning the retail industry that has moved their sales to online from people going to the stores, you will think that this will be for good, or are people going back into stores to buy milk and sugar?
Yeah, I think milk and sugar there'll still be stores for that. I think, but if you look at the trend in retail over the last 10 years, it's been much more about the experience, and Amazon and e-commerce has accelerated that. So it's more about the experience of being in stores, and you've seen a lot of shops close down only to be replaced by a mini golf center, because the current generation, it's about experience rather than that. Because if I need like a laptop, I'm probably going to buy it online.
Yeah.
The only shops that will really survive are those that add true value over and above the product that you can get digitally. Yeah. The challenges that represents for a lot of retail businesses is stock management becomes really hard. I might buy 4 pairs of jeans so I can see which blue I like, and then I send back the 3 I don't like. How many jeans do you keep in stock now? And there's new challenges for businesses to master.
Yeah, true. I have here one. What can you say? Probably more a thought than a question. Company confidence issue could be the companies that are using the governmental help, because here in Iceland now a lot of companies are having are helped by the government by a lot of injections or something like that. How do you see that affect?
So can I reclarify? So can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah. A company confidence issue could be the companies that are using the governmental help. This is more like a thought than a question.
Yeah, I think in the next 6 weeks, companies will work out, do those jobs exist? Yeah. And the furlough schemes were giving companies a breathing space. And actually, I think about now, most decisions have been made because it was about not making rash decisions. Because I think in the UK, if they hadn't made, even with furlough, like 500,000 people got made redundant within a week. Without furlough, we've got 8 million people on the furlough scheme. But a lot of those jobs just don't exist. And businesses are either going through that process or have gone through that process to work out what does our business look like in the next year. Because the way the furlough schemes are working is they're going to taper off and companies are going to start having to pay. And as soon as it's their money, they're going to make calls. So, but who knows what that will mean? And I think confidence is the word. It's once one person starts spending money, they've got to buy from somewhere, because they buy from somewhere, they've got to buy somewhere else. And that's what we've yet to find out.
Yeah. Okay. So Alex, I think we were coming to an end here. So any last thought you would like to bring out to the people?
Only that sales is not a dirty word. Think of it as business development. Every part of your organization is involved in helping you grow your business. And if you want to engage your team in doing the things that are going to be necessary in order to grow and thrive in the next 2 years, it's about realigning your company's goals. What is your purpose, and how do you deliver something more than just shareholder profit? How do you look after your staff? How are you supporting them, developing them, coaching them to be better at what they do, and motivating them through giving them a stake in the decision-making process? And last but not least, it is all about your customer. It's almost like a new startup, right? No one really knows what their business is going to be. No one really knows how things are going to play out. Stop assuming you know what your customer wants and start talking to them about what they think their situation will be. before you start to think about what your plans are. Because if your team believe your solution will genuinely help your customers' problems, then they will go to the ends of the earth to promote them. So thank you very much for watching. It's been great. Thank you very much for Origo for having me, and it's been great to be part of your team for the day.
Thank you for your time, Alex. Nice having you here, and I hope this has been inspiring for you people out there. Takk kærlega fyrir í dag. Ég ætla bara að vona að þið hafið haft gagn og gaman af og við sjáumst á einhverju öðru vefvarpi og síðar. Takk fyrir.